The photo shows a 13-year-old girl. It's a normal Saturday afternoon in a quiet Washington suburb. But in less than 3 hours, Chloe Madison would be gone. And the last person to see her alive? Her best friend since kindergarten, Tyler Bennett. The same boy who would later say 7 words that would haunt everyone involved: "I don't know where she went." Before we dive into this case, let me ask you something. Have you ever kept a secret to protect someone you love? A secret so heavy it crushes you from the inside? Drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from. Because what happened in Washington in 2012 will make you question everything you think you know about friendship, loyalty, and the terrible price of silence. This is the story of Chloe Madison. And I need to warn you, what you're about to hear will stay with you long after this video ends. It was March 17, 2012. St. Patrick's Day. The streets of Olympia, Washington were decorated with green shamrocks and festive banners. For those of you who don't know, Olympia is the state capital, a city of about 50,000 people nestled between Puget Sound and the Black Hills. It's the kind of place where neighbors know each other's names, where kids still ride bikes until the streetlights come on, where parents feel safe letting their children walk to school alone. That Saturday was unusually warm for March in the Pacific Northwest. Temperatures reached 62 degrees, and after weeks of the typical Washington rain, everyone wanted to be outside. Chloe Madison had been planning this day for weeks. It was her 13th birthday party, and she had invited 12 friends to celebrate at Priest Point Park, a beautiful wooded area right on the water where families often gathered for picnics and celebrations. Chloe was an 8th grader at Jefferson Middle School. Teachers described her as bright, enthusiastic, always raising her hand in class. She played clarinet in the school band and was on the track team. Her parents, David and Jennifer Madison, called her their sunshine. She had this way of lighting up a room when she walked in, always with a joke ready, always making others feel included. David worked as an accountant for the state, and Jennifer was a nurse at Providence St. Peter Hospital. They were a normal, loving family living in a modest 2-story house on Maple Street in the West Side neighborhood. The party started at 2 in the afternoon. Jennifer had packed sandwiches, chips, homemade chocolate cake, and juice boxes. David brought a Bluetooth speaker to play music. About 15 kids showed up, including Chloe's younger brother, 9-year-old Marcus, who insisted on coming even though his sister said it was too cool for him. And of course, there was Tyler Bennett. Tyler and Chloe had been inseparable since they met in kindergarten. They lived 3 houses apart on the same street. They'd grown up together, celebrating birthdays, going to the same schools, spending summers running through sprinklers and building forts in Tyler's backyard. Tyler's parents had divorced when he was 8, and his mother worked long hours as a waitress at a local diner. Chloe's family had basically adopted him. He ate dinner at their house at least 3 times a week. Jennifer always set an extra place at the table for him. At the park that day, witnesses would later tell police that everything seemed normal. Kids were playing frisbee, eating cake, taking photos. Chloe was wearing her favorite outfit, a green hoodie her grandmother had given her for Christmas, and jeans with stars drawn on them in silver marker. Her long brown hair was pulled back in a ponytail. She was laughing, running around with her friends, looking every bit like a happy teenager on her birthday. Now, here's where things start to get strange. And I want you to really think about this. At around 4:30 in the afternoon, Chloe told her mother she wanted to walk down to the beach area with Tyler and her friend Emma Rodriguez. The beach section of Priest Point Park is about a quarter mile from the main picnic area, connected by a winding trail through dense forest. Jennifer hesitated. But it was still daylight, Chloe was with friends, and they promised to be back in 20 minutes. 20 minutes, Chloe. I'm serious, Jennifer said. I promise, Mom, Chloe replied, already running toward the trail with Tyler and Emma. That was the last time Jennifer Madison saw her daughter. Let me ask you something. If you were a parent, would you have let your 13-year-old walk away in those circumstances? Comment below. Because Jennifer Madison would replay this moment in her mind thousands of times, wondering if she could have changed everything with just one word: no. According to Emma Rodriguez's statement to police, the 3 friends walked down the trail, laughing and talking. Chloe was in the middle, flanking her on either side. The forest was thick with Douglas fir and western red cedar trees, their branches creating a canopy that filtered the late afternoon sunlight into soft green shadows. They could hear Puget's sound in the distance, waves lapping against the rocky shore. When they reached the beach, it was nearly empty. Just one older man walking his dog far down the shoreline. The three kids skipped rocks for a few minutes. Emma checked her phone and said it was 4:45. They needed to get back. That's when Tyler said he forgot his phone at the picnic area and needed to go back and get it. "I'll come with you," Chloe offered. But Tyler said no. He told them to wait there, he'd run back quick and grab it. Emma said she needed to use the bathroom anyway, so she'd walk back to the main area too. Chloe said she'd stay and skip a few more rocks. She'd meet them back at the picnic tables in 5 minutes. Emma Rodriguez walked back up the trail. Tyler jogged ahead of her, moving fast. Emma said she could hear his footsteps crunching on the gravel path until he turned a corner and she couldn't see him anymore. She reached the bathrooms near the picnic area, went inside, and when she came out 2 minutes later, Tyler was standing by the tables, phone in hand. "Where's Chloe?" Jennifer asked, looking past Emma. "She's still at the beach," Emma said. She wanted to stay a little longer. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Jennifer started to feel uneasy. David walked down the trail calling Chloe's name. Nothing. He reached the beach. Empty. No sign of his daughter anywhere. Now his walk turned into a jog, then a run. He searched the shoreline in both directions. He called her name until his voice went hoarse. Other parents from the party joined the search. They combed through the trails, checked the parking lots, searched every bathroom and picnic shelter in the park. Chloe Madison had vanished. At 5:35, exactly 1 hour after she walked down that trail, David Madison called 911. "My daughter is missing," he said, his voice breaking. "Please, you have to help us find her." Think about that for a moment. 1 hour. That's all it took for a normal birthday party to turn into every parent's worst nightmare. In 60 minutes, a laughing 13-year-old girl celebrating with friends became the subject of a missing persons investigation. The Olympia Police Department responded immediately. Within 20 minutes, 6 patrol cars were at Priest Point Park. Officers interviewed everyone who had been at the party. They questioned the man walking his dog on the beach. He said he'd seen 3 kids near the water earlier, 2 girls and a boy, but then he walked further down and didn't see anything unusual. When he came back past that spot 15 minutes later, no one was there. Search and rescue teams arrived as the sun began to set. They brought K-9 units, the dogs trained to track human scent. The dogs picked up Chloe's scent on the trail and followed it to the beach. But then something strange happened. At a specific spot on the rocky shore, about 50 feet from where Emma said they'd been skipping rocks, the dogs stopped. They circled the area, whining and confused. The scent trail just ended. Like Chloe had simply evaporated into thin air. "That's impossible," one of the K-9 handlers said. "Scent doesn't just disappear like that." But it had. As darkness fell over Priest Point Park, over 100 volunteers joined the search. They used flashlights, called Chloe's name, checked every inch of the forest. Helicopters with thermal imaging cameras flew overhead. Local news crews arrived, their bright lights turning the park into an eerie nighttime stage. Jennifer Madison sat in the back of an ambulance, wrapped in a blanket even though it wasn't cold, sobbing into her hands. David paced back and forth, his phone pressed to his ear, calling everyone he could think of. Maybe Chloe had gotten confused and walked to a friend's house? Maybe she'd gotten lost and found a house to ask for help? But hour after hour, every call came back the same. No one had seen her. Detective Maria Santos from the Olympia Police Department took charge of the investigation. She was a 15-year veteran, a mother of 2 herself, and she knew that the first 48 hours were critical. She immediately established a command center and began the systematic process of interviewing witnesses. When she sat down with Tyler Bennett at 7 that evening, he was crying. His mother, Linda Bennett, sat beside him, holding his hand. Tyler was 14, tall for his age, with sandy brown hair and green eyes red from tears. "Tyler," Detective Santos said gently, "I need you to tell me exactly what happened. Take your time." Tyler's story matched Emma's. They'd walked down to the beach, skipped rocks for a few minutes. Then he remembered his phone and jogged back. He said he never saw Chloe after that. He got his phone from the table where he'd left it and waited for the girls to come back. "Did you see anyone else on the trail when you were walking back?" Detective Santos asked. Tyler shook his head. "No. It was empty." "Did Chloe mention meeting anyone? Did she seem nervous or worried about anything?" "No," Tyler said, his voice barely a whisper. "She was happy. It was her birthday." Detective Santos studied the boy carefully. She'd been doing this job long enough to read people, and what she saw was genuine distress. But she also saw something else. Something that made her instincts prickle. Tyler was holding something back. "Tyler," she said, leaning forward, "if you know anything at all, you need to tell me. Chloe's life could depend on it." "I don't know where she is," Tyler said, and those 7 words would become his mantra over the coming days. "I don't know where she went." By midnight, the search had to be scaled back. It was too dark, too dangerous to have hundreds of civilians stumbling through the woods. Professional search teams would continue through the night, but volunteers were asked to go home and return at first light. The Madison family didn't go home. They stayed at the park, drinking coffee volunteers brought them, jumping at every radio call, praying for news. The local TV stations ran the story on their 11 o'clock broadcasts. 13-year-old Chloe Madison disappeared from Priest Point Park this afternoon during her birthday party. Police are asking anyone with information to come forward. They showed her school photo, that smile that could light up a room, now frozen in time on television screens across Washington state. "Here's a question for you. Have you ever had someone in your life who just gets you? Someone who knows you better than you know yourself?" That's what Chloe and Tyler were to each other. So why was Tyler holding back information? What was he so afraid to say? The next morning, Sunday, March 18th, hundreds of volunteers returned to Priest Point Park at dawn. The search expanded to surrounding neighborhoods, businesses, anywhere a 13-year-old girl might have gone or been taken. Flyers with Chloe's face went up on every telephone pole, in every store window. The community rallied in a way that small cities do when one of their children is in danger. Detective Santos organized the investigation with military precision. Officers checked security cameras from every business within a 5-mile radius of the park. They interviewed registered sex offenders in the area. They searched databases for similar cases. They deployed dive teams to search the waters off Priest Point Park, a grim possibility no one wanted to consider but couldn't ignore. David and Jennifer Madison appeared on the local news that afternoon, begging for help. "Please," Jennifer said, tears streaming down her face. "If you have our daughter, just let her go. Just let her come home. Chloe, baby, if you can hear this, we love you so much. We're looking for you. We won't stop until we find you." David put his arm around his wife, his own face a mask of anguish. "Someone knows something. Someone saw something. Please come forward. Help us bring our little girl home." But no credible tips came in. Just the usual false sightings that plague every missing person case. Someone thought they saw her at a gas station in Tacoma. Someone else swore they saw her getting into a car in Seattle. Every lead was investigated. Every single one turned out to be nothing. By Monday, the story had gone regional. Seattle news stations picked it up. Then Portland. Then it hit the national media. Nancy Grace covered it on her show. A 13-year-old girl vanishes from her own birthday party in broad daylight. Where is Chloe Madison? The FBI got involved, sending agents specializing in child abduction cases. They brought additional resources, technology, expertise. They created a profile of potential suspects. They analyzed the timeline down to the minute. And they kept coming back to the same troubling question. How did someone abduct a girl from a public park in the middle of the afternoon without anyone seeing anything? Unless she wasn't abducted from the park at all. Detective Santos made a decision that would change the direction of the entire investigation. She brought Tyler Bennett back in for questioning. This time, without his mother present. Tyler was technically old enough to be interviewed without a parent in Washington state, and Santos needed to push harder. Tyler sat in the interview room, his leg bouncing nervously, his hands clasped tightly in his lap. "Tyler," Detective Santos said, "I'm going to be straight with you. I don't think you're telling me everything." "I am," Tyler insisted. "I told you what happened. Let's go through the timeline again. You, Chloe, and Emma walked down to the beach at approximately 4:30. You got there around 4:35. You skipped rocks for about 10 minutes. Then at 4:45, you said you forgot your phone and needed to go back. Is that correct?" "Yes." "And you jogged back up the trail." Emma followed a few minutes later. "You got your phone from the picnic table." Emma went to the bathroom. "And Chloe stayed at the beach." Right. Detective Santos pulled out a phone records printout. "Tyler, this is your phone activity from that day. According to this, you didn't make or receive any calls or texts between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. So you weren't checking your phone. You didn't need it for anything urgent. So why did you really go back?" Tyler's face went pale. I just wanted to get it." "Or did you want to leave Chloe alone at the beach?" "What? No. I would never." "Tyler, I've been doing this for a long time. And I can tell when someone is lying to me. You're protecting someone. Or you're protecting yourself. But that girl is missing, and every minute that passes, the chances of finding her alive decrease. So I'm going to ask you one more time. What really happened at that beach?" Tyler's hands started shaking. His eyes filled with tears. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. And then he said something that made Detective Santos lean forward in her chair. "I saw someone," Tyler whispered. "What?" "I saw someone. On the trail. When I was going back. Why didn't you tell me this before?" Tyler's tears spilled over. Because I'm not supposed to know him. I'm not supposed to talk to him. Now we're getting somewhere. But who was this person? And why was Tyler so scared to mention him? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you're not subscribed yet, hit that button now because this story is about to take a turn you won't see coming. Detective Santos kept her voice calm, even though inside she was screaming. "Tyler, I need you to tell me who you saw. Right now." Tyler wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. "His name is Marcus Vaughn. He's my mom's ex-boyfriend." Linda Bennett had dated Marcus Vaughn for about 8 months, from September 2010 to May 2011. By all accounts, it hadn't ended well. Vaughn was 36 years old, worked as a contractor doing odd jobs around Olympia. He had a record petty theft when he was younger, and a domestic violence charge from a previous relationship that had been pleaded down. When Linda found out about his past, she broke up with him immediately. She told him never to contact her or Tyler again. But Vaughn hadn't listened. "He kept showing up places where he knew we'd be," Tyler said. "The grocery store, my school, the park where I play basketball. My mom called the police twice, but he always said it was a coincidence, that Olympia's a small town. They told him to stay away, but there's no restraining order or anything." "And you saw him on the trail that day? At Priest Point Park?" Tyler nodded miserably. "I was jogging back to get my phone, and he was just standing there on the side of the trail, like he was waiting for someone. He said, 'Hey Tyler,' and I just kept running. I didn't want to talk to him. I didn't want him anywhere near me or Chloe or my mom." "Did you see him talking to Chloe?" "No. When I saw him, I was already going back up the trail. Chloe was still at the beach behind me." Detective Santos felt ice water run down her spine. "Tyler, why didn't you tell anyone this immediately?" "Because..." Tyler's voice broke. "Because I was scared you'd think I had something to do with it. Marcus knows me. If he did something to Chloe, it's my fault. He was there because of me. He was probably watching us. And I left her alone. And there it was. The guilt that had been eating this 14-year-old boy alive for 3 days. The secret that had been crushing him." "Tyler, listen to me," Detective Santos said firmly. "If Marcus Vaughn took Chloe, That is not your fault. Do you understand me? You did nothing wrong. But we need to find him right now. Do you know where he lives? Tyler shook his head. My mom made sure I didn't know. She didn't want me anywhere near him. Within an hour, every law enforcement officer in Olympia was looking for Marcus Vaughn. They ran his license plate, got his last known address, started making calls to his known associates. But Vaughn was in the wind. His truck wasn't at his apartment. His boss at the construction company said he'd called in sick on Saturday and hadn't shown up for work Monday. Detective Santos put out a bolo, "Be on the lookout," for Marcus Vaughn and his vehicle, a gray 2005 Ford F-150 with a dented front fender. She contacted the FBI to get their resources involved. And she went to break the news to David and Jennifer Madison that they had a suspect. The Madison parents' relief at having a direction for the investigation was tempered by the horrifying reality of what that direction meant. A man with a history of violence might have their daughter. Where would he take her? David asked desperately. Where would he go? That was the question everyone was trying to answer. FBI agents began building a comprehensive profile of Marcus Vaughn. They interviewed his ex-girlfriends, his employers, anyone who knew him. A picture emerged of a man who didn't take rejection well, who had anger issues, who felt the world owed him something. One of his ex-girlfriends, Sarah Chen, told investigators something chilling. When I broke up with Marcus, he told me that if he couldn't have me, he'd make sure no one else did either. He said he knew how to disappear, that he had places no one knew about. Places no one knew about. In a state as vast and wild as Washington, that could mean anything. The Cascade Mountains, the Olympic Peninsula, thousands of acres of national forest where a person could hide for years. But Detective Santos had an idea. She pulled up property records for Marcus Vaughn and his family. His father had died 2 years earlier. His mother lived in a nursing home in Spokane. And there, buried in inheritance records, she found something. Vaughn's father had owned a small hunting cabin in the Black Hills, about 40 miles south of Olympia. The property was remote, accessible only by a poorly maintained logging road. It had been sitting vacant since the father's death. That's it, Santos said, showing the property information to the FBI agents. That's where he'd go. But they had to be careful. If Vaughn was holding Chloe at that cabin, going in without a plan could get her killed. The FBI's hostage rescue team was deployed. They studied satellite images of the property, planned their approach, prepared for every scenario. It was now Wednesday, March 21st. 4 days since Chloe disappeared. 4 days that felt like a lifetime to her family. 4 days that Tyler Bennett spent in an agony of guilt and fear. At dawn on Wednesday, law enforcement moved in on the cabin. The FBI hostage rescue team approached through the forest, silent as ghosts. Detective Santos was there, along with officers from Olympia PD. They surrounded the property, every exit covered. The cabin was small, barely more than a shack, with peeling paint and a sagging roof. Vaughn's gray truck was parked behind it, partially hidden under tree branches. He was there. Marcus Vaughn, an FBI agent, called through a megaphone. "This is the FBI. The cabin is surrounded. Come out with your hands up." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the cabin door opened slowly. Marcus Vaughn stepped out, hands raised, blinking in the morning sunlight. He looked rough, like he hadn't slept in days. "On the ground. Now." Vaughn complied, getting down on his knees, then his stomach. Officers rushed in, cuffing him, securing him. Detective Santos ran toward the cabin, her heart pounding. "Chloe!" she shouted. "Chloe Madison!" She burst through the cabin door, weapon drawn. The interior was dim, dusty. There was a small main room with a table and chairs, a kitchenette, a door leading to what must be a bedroom. Santos kicked open the bedroom door. And there, huddled in the corner, tied to a pipe but alive, was Chloe Madison. The girl's face was streaked with tears, her green hoodie torn and dirty. But when she saw Detective Santos, hope flooded her eyes. "I knew you'd come," Chloe whispered. "I knew you'd find me." Detective Santos ran to her, pulling out a knife to cut the ropes. You're safe now, honey. You're safe. Let's get you home. The scene that followed at the command center when the call came through is something no one who witnessed it will ever forget. Jennifer Madison collapsed to her knees, sobbing. David grabbed onto whoever was nearest, unable to stand on his own. Tyler Bennett, who'd been at the police station waiting for news, put his face in his hands and cried like he'd never cried before. Chloe was taken by ambulance to Providence St. Peter Hospital, where her mother worked. She was dehydrated, exhausted, traumatized, but physically unharmed. Vaughn hadn't sexually assaulted her, a small mercy in a nightmare situation. He'd grabbed her from the beach, held his hand over her mouth, and dragged her through the woods to where his truck was parked on a fire road. He'd told her if she screamed, he'd hurt her. Then he'd driven her to the cabin and kept her there, tied up, telling her bizarre stories about how they were going to be a family, how he was going to show Linda Bennett what she was missing. The man was delusional, disconnected from reality, and extraordinarily dangerous. Marcus Vaughn was charged with first-degree kidnapping, unlawful imprisonment, and assault. He would later be sentenced to 45 years in prison without the possibility of parole. In Washington state, kidnapping of a minor carries severe penalties, and Vaughn's prior record worked against him. The prosecutor called him a predator who targeted an innocent child to fulfill some twisted revenge fantasy against a woman who rightfully rejected him. At his sentencing, Chloe Madison, now 14 years old, read a victim impact statement. She looked Vaughn directly in the eyes and said, "You tried to take my life away from me. You tried to make me afraid. But I'm not afraid of you. I'm stronger than you'll ever be. And I'm going to live a good life, a happy life, and you won't be part of it at all." The courtroom erupted in applause. Judge Martha Simmons had to call for order. Even she was wiping tears from her eyes. But this story isn't really about Marcus Vaughn. It's about Tyler Bennett. Remember those 7 words? I don't know where she went. For 3 days, Tyler carried the weight of what he'd seen, terrified that speaking up would somehow make things worse, would confirm his deepest fear that Chloe's disappearance was his fault. After Chloe came home, she and Tyler sat together in the Madison family living room. Jennifer and David gave them privacy, though they stayed close enough to hear if needed. "I'm so sorry," Tyler said, tears streaming down his face. "I should have told them right away about seeing Marcus. I should have walked you back. I should have." Chloe grabbed his hand. "Tyler, stop. You saved my life." "What? I didn't. The FBI did. Detective Santos did." "No," Chloe said firmly. "You told them about Marcus. If you hadn't, they'd still be searching the park, searching the city. They'd have no idea where I was. You're the reason they found me. But I waited too long. You were scared. I get that. But you told the truth when it mattered. That's what's important." This moment between these two kids, who'd been best friends since they were 5 years old, is the real heart of this story. Because Tyler learned something that a lot of adults never learn. Keeping secrets to protect yourself only makes things worse. The truth might be scary, but it's the only way forward. Detective Maria Santos would later tell reporters, "If Tyler Bennett hadn't come forward with information about Marcus Vaughn, we might never have found Chloe. His bravery in overcoming his fear and speaking up saved that girl's life. He's a hero, even if he doesn't feel like one." The community of Olympia rallied around the Madison family and Tyler's family in the aftermath. There were fundraisers to help with medical bills and therapy costs. The Madisons appeared on national television to thank everyone who'd searched for their daughter, everyone who'd kept hope alive. And Tyler? He struggled for a long time with guilt and trauma. He went to therapy, worked through his feelings, learned to forgive himself. Chloe was in therapy too, dealing with PTSD from her ordeal. But they went through it together, their friendship not just surviving but becoming stronger. By the time they graduated from high school in 2016, Tyler and Chloe were still best friends. They both spoke at their graduation about the importance of community, of never giving up hope, of telling the truth even when it's hard. Today, Chloe Madison is alive and thriving because a 14-year-old boy found the courage to overcome his fear and speak the truth. Because a dedicated detective followed her instincts. Because an entire community refused to stop searching. Because when you combine love, determination, and hope, incredible things can happen. Think about the people in your life right now, the ones you care about. If they needed you, if they were in danger, would you have the courage to do what Tyler did? Would you speak up, even if you were afraid? I hope you never have to find out. But if you do, remember this story. Remember that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is tell the truth. Before we end, I want to talk about some of the lessons from this case. Because while this is a story that ended well, so many others don't. According to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, nearly 500,000 children are reported missing in the United States every year. Most are found quickly, thank God. But thousands aren't. Thousands of families live in that nightmare permanently. So what can we learn from Chloe's case? First, trust your instincts. Jennifer Madison hesitated when Chloe asked to walk to the beach. She felt uneasy but talked herself out of it. Now, I'm not saying parents should keep their kids locked up, but if something feels wrong, honor that feeling. Make your kids check in. Set clear boundaries and stick to them. Second, teach children about dangerous adults. Marcus Vaughn was able to grab Chloe because she was alone for just a few minutes. Kids need to understand that predators look for opportunities, for kids who are isolated or vulnerable. They need to know it's okay to scream, to fight, to run. Third, if you see something, say something. Tyler saw Marcus Vaughn on that trail. He knew it was weird that the man was there, but he was scared to say anything. If he'd told his mom or the Madisons right away that Vaughn was at the park, maybe Chloe never would have been taken. Information, even if it seems small, can be crucial. Fourth, never give up hope. The Madison family had every reason to despair, but they kept believing, kept searching, kept pushing law enforcement to do more. That faith sustained them through the darkest days of their lives. And finally, forgiveness. Tyler had to forgive himself for not speaking up sooner. Chloe had to forgive Tyler for leaving her alone. Jennifer had to forgive herself for letting Chloe walk away. Healing from trauma requires letting go of the guilt and blame and focusing on moving forward. Where are they now? Chloe Madison graduated from the University of Washington with a degree in social work. She now works with an organization that helps families of missing children. She uses her experience to bring hope to others going through the same nightmare she survived. Tyler Bennett became a police officer. He joined the Olympia Police Department in 2020 and works in the Community Outreach Division, building relationships between law enforcement and the neighborhoods they serve. He says that day in March 2012 showed him the importance of trust between police and citizens, and he wants to foster that trust. The two of them are still friends, still in each other's lives. Tyler was a groomsman at Chloe's wedding last year. She was there when he graduated from the police academy. They text each other on March 17th every year, the anniversary of both Chloe's birthday and the worst day of their young lives. "We don't run from it," Chloe told me in a recent interview. "We acknowledge what happened. We remember how far we've come. And we celebrate being alive." That's resilience. That's strength. That's the human spirit refusing to be broken. Marcus Vaughn is still in prison. He'll be eligible for parole in 2057, when he's 81 years old. He sent a letter to the Madison family in 2018, attempting to apologize. They never opened it. Some things don't deserve forgiveness, and some people don't deserve a second chance to hurt you. If you or someone you know is dealing with a stalker or an ex-partner who won't leave them alone, please take it seriously. Get a restraining order. Document everything. Tell people what's happening. Don't assume it will go away on its own. Marcus Vaughn showed up at that park because he'd been allowed to get away with showing up in other places. Each time Linda Bennett let it slide, each time she told herself it was probably nothing, he got bolder. And if you're a young person watching this, if you know something about a crime or a dangerous situation, please speak up. I know it's scary. I know you might worry about getting in trouble or making things worse. But the adults in your life want to help. The police want to help. We can't protect you if we don't know you're in danger. Tyler Bennett was 14 years old when he made the choice to tell the truth. 14. Still a kid himself. And he saved someone's life. You might think you're too young to make a difference, but you're not. Your voice matters. Your information matters. You matter. So let me ask you one final question. What would you do? If you were in Tyler's position, scared and guilty and confused, would you speak up? I really want to know what you think. Drop your answer in the comments below, and let's talk about it. The story of Chloe Madison isn't just a story about a kidnapping and a rescue. It's a story about the power of truth, the strength of community, and the unbreakable bonds of friendship. It's about ordinary people doing extraordinary things when the situation demands it. It's about never giving up, even when all hope seems lost. David Madison said something at a press conference that stuck with me. He said, "Every parent's worst nightmare is losing their child. But I learned that even in the darkest moments, there are people who care. Strangers who became friends, friends who became family, a whole community that refused to let us face this alone. That's what got us through. Not just the police work, not just the happy ending, but the knowledge that we weren't alone. We're never alone. Even when we feel most isolated, most afraid, there are people who care. There are people who will search for us, fight for us, refuse to give up on us." That's the lesson I hope you take from this. Not just the true crime details, not just the drama and suspense, but the fundamental truth about human nature. We're stronger together. We're braver when we support each other. And we can overcome almost anything when we refuse to surrender to fear. Chloe Madison is 25 years old now. She's married, she has a good job, she's living the life that was almost stolen from her on that March day in 2012. Every moment she lives, every birthday she celebrates, every milestone she reaches is a victory. Not just for her, but for everyone who fought to bring her home. As for that photo from the beginning of this video, the one of Chloe at her 13th birthday party, smiling with her friends, the Madison family has it framed in their living room. Not as a reminder of what they almost lost, but as a celebration of what they got back. Chloe looks at it sometimes and remembers that girl, that innocent kid who thought the worst thing that could happen was a rainy birthday party. She's grateful for her naivety then, and she's grateful for her wisdom now. "I'm not the same person I was before," Chloe said. "I'm stronger now. I know what I'm capable of surviving. And I know that no matter what happens, I have people who love me enough to move heaven and earth to find me." That's what love looks like. That's what community looks like. That's what hope looks like. Thank you for watching this video. If it affected you, if it made you think, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. And most importantly, look around at the people in your life. Tell them you care about them. Build those connections. Be the person someone can count on when everything falls apart. Because in the end, that's all we have. Each other. And if this story proves anything, it's that sometimes, that's enough. Stay safe out there. And remember, if you know something, say something. Your voice could save a life.